Keith, to start with, going to be talking about Chelsea. Now, their hotel deal still hasn't appeared on the sale of land registry. What are your thoughts on that, given that it's now been more than a year?
Yeah, this is something that we've sort of touched on before, that the documents at Land Registry, there was a big flurry of legal activity to try and change it, but it didn't end up getting approved for some reason. There's really a bit of a mystery as to what's going on there, and whether this whole transaction around the hotels is going to be allowable for PSR still. The Premier League have not made a definitive statement on this. It's something I've really got my eyes on, and a lot of other people as well are watching this. But yes, those documents, it's strange that it hasn't been approved like that. But we know the sale's gone through and there's a new management company involved. But yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye and see what the actual legal position is as we go forward.
Will the Premier League be investigating this, Keith? What do you think will be going on behind the scenes? Or actually, do you think this might have been sort of brushed over potentially, given the length of time that this has been taken?
No, I think this is firmly in the crosshairs of the Premier League at the moment. I think anything that around PSR right now, because of all the controversy that's been around PSR, is going to be front and center, definitely with the Premier League right now. And I think something like this, where the EFL don't allow these sort of transactions, but the Premier League does, is certainly going to be one that they know is under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of eyes watching it. So the Premier League will be right on top of it, I'm sure, right now.
And from the investigation, Keith, generally going on at the club, have you got an update on that for us, please? Or actually, given sort of maybe the quiet nature around that current situation, what is the general feeling, do you think, amongst Chelsea fans with that ongoing investigation?
Well, it seems to be that, Chelsea are just marching forward and just, carrying on as though everything's going to be fine. And that's either a brave face or else they know something we don't. And so far, they've proven us wrong on a couple of occasions. I mean, I've always said that Todd Bowley and his team are very, very bright people. And if anybody's going to find some loopholes, I think it'll be them. So we're going to have to wait and see on this one. We can't get behind the veil at the moment and see what's really going on. But the time will come very soon.
Talking of hotels, Keith, we know that Ascot have linked up with Chelsea for a new global hotels partnership. What are your thoughts around that sort of multi-year deal for them?
It's very interesting. It's a 4-year deal, as I understand it, and they've actually, become the hotel sponsor for Chelsea for 4 years. And part of the whole brand building for Ascot, who is not a brand that is really that well known in the UK, and this is started their push into Europe. And I believe they have about 950 properties around the world, which is obviously quite a network. But it's not a company I'd really heard of before. But they're looking at doing money can't buy prizes for their loyalty program. So things like visiting the Cobham training ground, meeting the players, access to different parts of Stamford Bridge during match day, etc. All those sort of things will become very valuable as they try and build the brand. Now, that all works very well, provided the Chelsea fans in Asia are really Ascot loyalty card holders. I don't know how well it will attract the Liverpool, Man United fans, for instance. That's always the problem with some of these deals, is can you actually annoy fans of other clubs? But we'll see how it gets on. It'd be interesting to know as well how much money changed hands on this. Was it part of the transaction? Or was it also some of it value in kind, is what they call it, when they give hotel rooms to the club or their fans rather than actually paying cash? So that's another thing I think the Premier League will be looking at, is the terms of how this deal was struck and what the true value is. So there's got to be fair market value, as we know, and so there'll be plenty of other hotel deals to look at to compare it to. But I've got to, we've got to see this one through, and let's get into the detail and see what really happened there if we can.
If you had to call it, Keith, how much do you think the valuation of the deal will be worth? And will they be looking long-term with Chelsea? We know, as you said, it's a 4-year deal, but strategically, what will the aims, do you think, of the deal actually be?
Well, I say, Ascot have made a big push into Europe. So certainly they're trying to get the visibility of the brand. And that's a big thing for them. And certainly front of shirt in the Premier League is a big asset. And I understand that as part of a brand building strategy. So I think that is going to be the main focus for Ascot. However, when it establishes the product with a football club and properties next to a football ground, I don't know if that really establishes the brand at the highest level. That's it's an interesting brand association, and they've got this new brand, I believe, called Leaf. I believe how you pronounce it, LYF. and that is going to be a new brand or additional brand within the Ascot family that they're trying to launch. So it's an interesting one. In terms of valuation, it's hard to put a number on that. I don't know the ins and outs in terms of what sort of back rooms, sort of access they have as these sort of loyalty program prizes. But you'd expect something like this to be around maybe the 10 to 15 million mark. As I say, I don't know how much of it is made up in value in kind, and what are the things that benefits they're going to get, whether it's real cash or not. So all that will have to come out in the wash and be approved by the Premier League in some way.
And in terms of transfer news, Keith, it looks like Liverpool are reportedly breaking their wage structure actually to sign Chelsea wonder kid Rio Ngoma. What are your thoughts on that deal? And actually, we've seen Chelsea in the process of this summer transfer window actually sell quite a few youngsters. What do you make of those decisions?
It is interesting. It's not so much Liverpool breaking the whole wage structure as the Liverpool Academy breaking its wage structure, I think, which is the key thing. I think they had a limit of 50,000 a week for the promising young talent in the academy. And also, interestingly, they had a restriction on the size of engine in the car they could buy, which is very good and very sensible, I believe, because they don't want the car park full of Range Rovers and Lamborghinis for kids who are just about old enough to drive. So I think that's good. Now, what's very interesting about this deal is he's 15 at the moment. I believe he'll be 16 in the next month or two, but he is 15. And I've been in these situations many times when we've got promising young talent in the under 16s, and you just don't know, are they going to have a growth spurt physically? What social pressures will they have to go under? Will they discover girls, beer, all sorts of things? I'm sure he'll have a very good family home background behind him and hopefully a stable home life. But nevertheless, he's a young teenager and all these pressures are on him. And so it's always a big gamble looking at a 15-year-old. Chelsea have been famous in their academy. They've done very, very well. They've let a few slip through their fingers, though. I mean, you think back of Mo Salah, you think of Lukaku, some of those that left Chelsea perhaps a little bit later than 15, but nevertheless, Chelsea have had an embarrassment of riches in many ways. And I noticed that two of their main academy guys have just left recently. And I wonder if there's a sort of a changing of the guard and attitude to how Chelsea are going to stock up the academy. But certainly, look, this is an interesting one at 15 to actually make a change of a club. It's showing, and we've seen a lot of these sort of young academy talents recently changing hands in swap deals, as we've seen around PSR. I don't know if that's part of it for this one. I doubt it. I think he's obviously a young, promising talent. And Chelsea may have a number of players in that particular position and feel that they're able to move him on. Or the player's agent has completely, activated the need for the transfer. But at that age, as I say, there's a huge element of risk, and I hope they've gone through it all in detail, and that Liverpool feel that he's the right one for them, and they are, more importantly, the right place for him to settle at that age group.